You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, all you weirdos. Jim here, and it's time once again to look forward to this week's upcoming comics. This is the most anticipated comic show of the week deal, and it's for the comics of May 22nd for the most part. We still have the DC stuff coming out on Tuesday, but that will change fairly soon, so that's kind of cool. And we do always start with DC, but before I get into that, let me remind everyone that this is a list of books that I'm looking forward to. Doesn't mean that you have to look forward to them, and I look forward to things for different reasons, whether it's a new number one that I want to review on the channel or something that hasn't been great but I hope gets better. All of that sort of thing goes into this, but I do want to stress that everybody else should let us know what your most anticipated books. What are you looking forward to this week? Because this is yet another show where maybe you can get people inspired to read something that they didn't know about, they didn't know was coming out this week. But we're going to get into this. I'm recording this at a very odd time. It's 2 a.m. We'll have some fun with that. But we're going to start with DC, as I said, and we're going to start with Batman Superman World's Finest number 27. Written by Mark Waid, art by Dan Mora. It's $3.99. That one is. It's an implosion or implosion, get it, of global proportions. As Mixie and a Bat-Mite flee the dreaded Doom-Mite of the fifth dimension, kind of a spoiler, Batman and Superman must travel to the fifth dimension to do battle with a dimension of omnipotent mayhem. My favorite thing about the fifth dimension is Skyrockets at Night. I like that song by them. Maybe the Age of Aquarius. All this plus the march of the Legion of Doom Mites and an absolutely adorable weapon of mass destruction in the startling second installment of the last World's Finest epic. And when I first read this, I thought, boy, I didn't know that it was ending. So that's kind of crazy deal there. But pretty cool. I do like the MC. I appreciate that they just put Mixie in the solicit so I don't have to, read Mixel Spitzel Spitalix. Everybody pronounces it different. I just like to say Mixie, so I give them props for that. We're going to move on to the next book, and it is the continuation of the House of Brainiac, so that's Superman number 14. I was a little bit down with last week's Action Comics. It was still good. I just didn't think it was as good, and Joshua Williamson tends to kind of fudge some of the details a lot when he does these stories. He kind of loses grip on some of the reality of the story where something seems big, then it isn't, then it's waved off with a hand wave, stuff like that. So hopefully this gets me back on track as well as him. But it's Superman number 14, written by Joshua Williamson with art by Rafa Sandoval, $4.99 because you have that backup. House, actually, I don't remember if Superman does have a backup. I know that Action does. House of Brainiac Part 4, ding, ding, ding. Superman and Lobo fight. I mean, they fight a lot. I still don't think they're going to fight that much. I think it's all going to be a wink, wink. The partnership was shaky at best, but now it's exploded. Lobo has betrayed Superman, and it's on now. Even if they stop punching each other long enough to save the day, it's too late, they tell us. Brainiac has what he needs, and the Brainiac Queen is alive. All right. Again, there's the thing. Brainiac Queen has kind of been pushed to the side a bit. We haven't really seen much of that. What I want to know more about is Lena Luthor. That's why Lex ended up, jumping into the kind of bottled up Ray that he ended up going off to, but we haven't even seen her. So I'm worried about Lena. I like Lena. I'm going to see what's going on, and we're going to move on to the next book. This is going to be streamlined. If I do it too long, I'll fall asleep, and that wouldn't be good. The Batman, Bat/Man, First Night. Written by, and this is issue number 3, I believe, written by Dan Jurgens, art by Mike Perkins. It's a book that I originally wasn't even going to read or review, and I have been, and I actually do like it. And it's $6.99. As the voices grip on Gotham tightens, Jim Gordon doesn't know whom he can trust. With monstrous beasts threatening the city, he turns to the Bat/Man, the Batmans, for help. But to truly stop this reign of terror, Playboy millionaire Bruce Wayne will step in to help guide the investigation. It all leads to a heart-pounding conclusion that will literally set Gotham ablaze. It will literally set it ablaze, they say, with an exclamation point. I've actually really enjoyed the book. I actually wish that it was a little longer, actually. I want to just keep saying actually. I'm telling you, I'm looking at my computer to read these solicits and these things. Things are getting a little blurry. So we're going to keep going here. But yeah, I actually, of those, again, Batman, Superman, World's Finest 27, Superman 14, and Batman, The First Night, number 3. I'm looking more forward to Batman, The First Night. I've actually really enjoyed that. I'd like to hear if other people are enjoying it as well. But we're going to move on to Marvel. Marvel has a couple big books coming out. I don't know if you've heard about this thing called Blood Hunt. Blood Hunt number 2. It's written by Jed McKay, art by Pepe Larraz. It is $4.99. I didn't love the first issue of Blood Hunt. I didn't hate it. Again, I thought it was okay. The problem is it's a start of pretty much a 60-issue event. And for me to get that, I needed to get real excited. And I mentioned it when we reviewed it. The idea of when that issue came out until this week, when issue 2 comes out, you're going to have, we had double digit of tie-ins. So you need to hit. So everybody wants to read the tie-ins. And I already see people are picking and choosing, if not at all. But here we go. The vampires' first strike has laid low the world, and their endless legions run riot across the planet. The broken Avengers join the fighters of the Midnight Mission and unlikely allies Bloodline and Dracula in seeking out the one man who could do something about this, Doctor Strange. We already saw the Midnight Mission is already at the Sanctum Sanctorum with even Miles in tow. But after the apocalyptic events of Blood Hunt number 1, what is left of Earth's Sorcerer Supreme? Now, you say that if you were reading the Doctor Strange book, the tie-in, you kind of know, and this is where I get worried. I hope that it doesn't end up taking half the issue to reiterate what we already saw, though they may, because they'll be afraid that people didn't read that. I'll just give you a little deal. He's a vampire, but he's also, his astral self came out. So he's got a husk of a vampire body that looks like his brother Victor's going to jump into, and then he's going to be like the ghost Doctor Strange. Clea ended up saving him that way. But I'm looking forward to see how that is. Again, I didn't hate the first issue. And when I end up reviewing things, I realized on YouTube where what people think scores are and whatnot, like the idea of a 7.5, and since I've been reviewing things for now over 10 years, 7.5 is pretty good. Anything over a 7 to me is kind of, I know people will say that 5 is the, middle of the road deal, but 5 starts getting real wonky. To me, 7 is, pretty good. After that, 7.5, 8, you go up from there. It's still good. And even so, a 6 to me is one of those where, okay, if you're interested, I think you'll still like it. But yeah, and I don't know why I'm telling people this. I'm running scared now. People are giving me a lot of crap for these scores. But Blood Hunt number 2, right, people? Blood Hunt number 2. We'll enjoy that. I'm looking forward to seeing it and seeing that maybe gets a little more exciting for me personally, because I'm a prick like that. But we're going to move on to the next book, which is a book that needs to pick up the pace a little as well. Ultimate Black Panther number 4, written by Brian Hill, art by Stefano Caselli. It is $4.99. The thing about this Ultimate Black Panther book, you have the Ultimate Spider-Man book. Everybody loves it. Oh my God, it's the greatest thing. You get the family, even people loving that, let's have a dinner party issue. I thought that was a little down. Again, I wasn't bailing on the series. I thought it was a little down. But you have that, right? Everybody loves it. Then you end up on the other side of the thing, the Ultimate X-Men, where everybody's fighting. Some people like it. And really, it really comes down to me, it seems. You love it or hate it, right? And people are fighting about it. Oh, my God, it looks like a 2-year-old drew it. Oh, my God, it's the greatest thing ever. It's what I've been waiting for, a manga-type-esque thing. And, boy, I wanted something different. In that, you end up having the Ultimate Black Panther that just sits in the middle and just, minds its own business. I don't see anybody fighting. What I get is, well, you get a standard Black Panther book, and it's not upsetting me. But the pacing, to me, is pretty much the same, maybe a little more. I mean, I'm telling you, I like the Ultimate X-Men book, but it does have a really slow pace. But Ultimate Black Panther, slow pace as well, but I don't hear as many people yelling about it. Sure, Shuri seizes the throne. I like Shuri. So maybe we'll find out that this is the big play. I think it's not. But when with T'Challa missing and presumed dead, Wakanda needs a new leader. Shuri wants war against Ra and Khonshu more than T'Challa ever did, but at what cost? Meanwhile, At one point, when I would do the solicit show, DC and Marvel both, they love to do that, but at what cost? I love that. Black Panther must learn from his new allies, the Freedom Fighters, Killmonger and Storm. Remember they were down in that basement with all the skeletons and that big moon, that big giant moon down there. And that is it for Marvel. We'll move on to the indie stuff. There's a bunch of indie stuff, and it has been kind of the lay of the land here on the channel. Even when me and Gray do our best of the week, we are tending to like a lot more of the indie stuff than the big two, but a couple big two books that we already talked about. But we'll start the indie stuff over at Titan Books. That means Conan the Barbarian, number 11, written by Jim Zub, art by Roberto de la Torre. Love that art. $3.99. Well worth every penny. Beyond flesh, beyond death, beyond time. Conan has traveled far and seen much in his legendary journeys, but nothing he has experienced thus far can prepare him for the quest to lands beyond to answer dark riddles of the past. I don't know what I just read. Unexpected allies await. Fierce enemies loom. I wish that it was looming like they're knitting, right? They're there and the strange power of the Black Stone sits in the age of Unconquered. So that's pretty cool. I've been really enjoying that book. I know Gray loves it. He loves it so much he wants to marry it. He wants to marry a bunch of things. His wife won't let him, though. She said that's not allowed. She's married also to him. She doesn't want to share with the Conan the Barbarian book. But we'll move to the next book. It's something that I ended up really liking the first issue. It surprised the heck out of me. And in fact, I end up, just as an aside, I guess this is one of those things when you're a reviewer and you're supposed to have these disclaimers. Zenoscope got a hold of me and they're sending me a care package, they said. I hope it has food. It'd be cool. The funny thing, too, is, and I'm talking about Pooh versus Bambi. I ended up liking that first issue, and they really did appreciate the review that me and my man Zach did here on the channel. And so they ended up asking, they didn't ask if Zach wants that. Maybe I should have gotten Zach's address and had something sent to him as well. The funny thing, though, I've mentioned before, when they go to send this, and the lady didn't get back to me yet. She ended up asking, hey, if you want this care package, give us your address. Legitimately, like one town away. Like they could probably drop it off easier on my porch, how close we are to them. But it is Pooh versus Bambi, number 2. And it has Dave Franchini and David Wool on that. It's $3.99. And it says, as Pooh's thirst for revenge and honey draws him deeper into the dark and treacherous 100-acre wood, he must turn to an unlikely ally from his past for assistance. But will this tiger change his stripes, or Tigger? Or has he entered into a deadly situation there is no bouncing back from? What I said in our review, and again, I'll tell you, I think I gave it a 7.5, and they seem to be thrilled with that. See, that's a pretty good score. Pretty good score. The idea of Pooh versus Bambi, it seems so ridiculous. I even said the idea that once Winnie the Pooh and all those things, the 100-acre wood stuff went to public domain, you end up having that horror movie and stuff like that. And then when people saw that Zenoscope was doing the same thing, oh man, they're just jumping on the bandwagon. It's not, that's what they do. Their whole deal, Zenoscope, is made by the idea of taking public domain characters and pretty much making them into kick-ass, over-the-top superheroes. So it fully fits the company, their MO. But what I did like about it was actually the idea that they took care to do something that didn't seem like a throwaway. Yeah, I've read Watchmen's better than Pooh versus Bambi, number 1, right? But the idea of taking a lot of care to make a pretty good comic and not just like, let's throw it out there. It's going to have Pooh versus Bambi. That's going to sell. No, they actually took a lot of effort into it to make a cool little story that involves, a commando team with Pooh and Bambi and all these characters that ends up going wrong. And we're going to go forward. Actually, I said it reminded me a lot of the Energon Universe Duke book by Joshua Williamson, which I love that book. So it was really cool. And if you haven't checked it out, I do suggest, giving it a deal, not just because I'm getting a care package, but because I thought it was pretty cool. And I am sure that me and Zach will return to review that. Again, speaking of Energon Universe, the next book I'm going to add to this list is Cobra Commander number 5, another Joshua Williamson book, and book I like. It is written by Joshua Williamson, art by Andrea Malena and Annalisa Leone. It's $3.99. It is the finale. That was the thing. I swear to God, I knew that Duke was a mini-series, but I still hope that it wasn't. I wanted it to continue. But if you read that Energon Universe special, the free comic book day deal, we know that we're getting towards the G.I. Joe book, which now I can't wait for. And I'm telling you right now, I said it when we reviewed the Duke book. The Duke book jumped ahead, actually, of Transformers for me, though it's now done, so I'm waiting. But suddenly I think I'm more of a G.I. Joe fan. Going into the whole Energon stuff, I didn't really have a lot of background on either the Transformers or G.I. Joe. And I think I'm actually more of a G.I. Joe fan, which surprises me a lot. But miniseries finale, The Rise of Cobra Commander. To build an army, Cobra Commander makes a deal with a powerful ally that can't be trusted. Now that it's started, can the Cobra threat ever be stopped? I would think eventually, but not soon. I mean, that would kind of put a damper on some of the books there, right? If you just stop it right away. So I think that it will last a bit. But I do like Cobra Commander. It was at a point like my least favorite of them, and might still be. I still like it, though, but it might be my least. Void Rivals and Cobra Commander kind of like shift back and forth with that, but I think Cobra Commander, though I still like it, might be the bottom of 4. Man, it might be because I'm not really familiar with the Cobra Law stuff, and every time I read it, I have to look up stuff, and I don't like doing research. The next one is Feral number 3. I will mention, too, I didn't put Void Rivals here on my list, kind of by mistake. So forgive me. I have Cobra Commander. Just include Void Rivals in there because that comes out as well. But the next one is Feral number 3, written by Tony Fleecs. I love Tony Fleecs suddenly. Didn't even know anything about Tony Fleecs until we started doing our best of the week and this anticipation type deal preview show. And people had said, oh my God, you got to read Feral. You got to read this deal. Oh my God, he's so cool. The Stray Dogs was awesome. And now all of a sudden he's also doing Uncanny Valley, and I can't get enough of the guy. Here he is. Here you go. And you have written by Tony Fleecs, art by Trish Forstner and Tony Rodriguez, $3.99. And it is from Image Comics as well. More animal horror in this ongoing series from the creators of Stray Dogs. Elsie, Lord, and Patch learn the rules for survival. They learn some things quick. Last issue, they learned about life and death, but will they follow them? In a forest infested with rabid monsters, the indoor cats can't afford to make any mistakes. But mistakes are Lord's specialty, it seems. Oh, britch pants. Don't get bit, don't get scratched, don't become feral, which they have. That's kind of the tagline. Remember, if you had read the last issue, Lord had said once he was up in the tree, and he's like, oh, I saw our houses. They were down that way. It doesn't seem like that is possible, but at least is where some humans are, and they're going to try to head towards there. And I'm going to finish this up. I said this is going to be pretty much a streamlined deal. I almost didn't get to do it again. I didn't have the show last week, which I apologize for, but there's been pretty much crazy stuff going on at our house. And in fact, when I get done this, it's like 2:15 now a.m., I have to go drive to Delaware, and I live in the Philadelphia area, so it's a couple-hour drive. So I'm doing this real quick. We'll get it out there. I hope you enjoyed it, but it is pretty quick, as I said, and a little rough around the edges, I think, just like me. That's what my wife says about me. The last book is Rook Exodus, number 2. And again, I talked about the Energon universe, and you kind of, make a rankings of the books. A lot of people have been doing it with the Ghost Machine stuff as well. Most people I talk to have Rook Exodus number 1. I think it's a lot to do with Jason Fabok's art. I'm still kind of getting into the story, and I keep going. Now, the funny thing is, and where you know that there's some good books, right? You end up having the first issues of Rook Exodus, Redcoat, and Geiger. Now I've become this person who each time I read Geiger number 2. Geiger's my favorite book now. Then I read Redcoat. Redcoat's my favorite book now. And I have a feeling it's going to happen with Rook Exodus. But isn't it? That's actually awesome. The idea that every time I read it becomes my new favorite in the rankings. But Rook Exodus number 2, of course, written by Jeff Johns, art by Jason Fabok. It's $3.99. Ghost Machine coming out from Image. In the far future, the man known only as Rook once out. I wish it was The Rock, not The Rock. I mean Rock, that old sitcom back in the day. Not Dwayne Johnson, though I do like Dwayne Johnson. A lot of people don't anymore. He reckons anywhere is better than the crumbling planet Exodus. And I don't mean Rock, the TV show guy. We're now back to Rook, right? Not Rock. where all of nature, especially its imported animal population, has grown out of control as the world's engine has utterly failed. Scavenging for an escape vessel, he's interrupted by the power-hungry bear master named Ursa. Look, badass. That like very threatening. Who won't stop until he rules all of what remains of Exodus? Pretty much, what does remain of Exodus? I don't know. Also, who is the mysterious dire wolf? And is she Rook's ally or enemy? I'm going to add, or lover, right? You get it? Lover. And at what cost is what I like to say. But that is, I'm going to make some sandwiches for the trip. So I got to get going. Nothing like a 4 a.m. tuna sandwich, right? To get you going on pita bread too. Isn't that cool? But that is it for this week's show. I'm looking forward to these books and a couple more, and I'll be reviewing a bunch of these. We'll have the reviews up on the channel. I would hope to at least have Pooh versus Bambi because I think it's cool, but Cobra Commander, Rook Exodus, you got the Blood Hunts. We'll try to get it all. I do apologize that if you have been coming to the channel for reviews, I ended up not doing a ton last week. I kind of got depressed when everybody's giving me crap about the Ultimate X-Men. But besides that, things started getting wacky, like I said, and I want to try to get more DC things, but I like to do the reviews with other people. And me and my man Eric, if you listen to our DC Comics podcast, we have been doing that together each week. We haven't missed a week in 10 years. So I want to get him involved, but that's like, pulling teeth is what it's like. And nobody likes pulling teeth. So we'll see. We'll see what we can do, but I'll try to get more DC stuff as well. But thanks, everybody. Let me know what books you're looking forward to, and I will talk to you all later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.